Three, two, one. Hey, everybody, it's Abraham DeWeese from Seattle Sports Union once again with the SolCal Seahawk, Rob English. Rob, we're coming off a victory against the Atlanta Falcons. How does that make you feel as opposed to this time last week?
Well, it always feels good when you are coming home with a W. There's things to be said about both sides of how that game went, but a win is a win is a win, and there's no extra points for style, so we'll take it, right?
We'll take it, definitely. But there are extra points for style, at least when it comes to podcast land. And I want to talk about both sides, as you called it. And one of those sides was the second half. What happened in the second half? I wrote an article yesterday on SeattleSportsUnion.com. I think we let up off the gas. I think the defense did not play to their full capacity. What do you think?
I had a lot of trouble with it because with every touchdown that we scored, with every point that we scored in the first half, and I'm looking at, Atlanta seeming to be just totally ineffective on offense through the first two quarters of the game. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to go into the half with a considerable lead. What's going to happen in the third and fourth quarter? It was already on my radar because we do typically do that. It seems that we take our foot off the gas, or that's the cliche statement, taking your foot off the gas, or do we just play more conservative, or what is it? It certainly looked like we changed what we were doing in some ways, and in other ways it looked like maybe Atlanta just figured something out. I don't know that our defense was playing so great. I think that I want to say that Atlanta was maybe just a little ineffective early. And then they figured out where to get us, namely in those delayed screen flare-ish kind of passes where they would almost let the whole offensive line through and then dump it off to the running back or dump it off to somebody short, and he was making big gains. That happened all second half and part of the first half even, and it seemed to be where they were getting us a lot.
You know what? That could be true. And that might be the fundamental flaw of Atlanta. I have not watched all their games. This is only the second game of the Falcons that I've seen. But looking at their record and looking at the talent that's on that roster, maybe that's what this team is. Maybe it's a team that can that can hang for a couple quarters, but has not been able to put it all together for the full four quarters. And maybe that's why they're kind of in the rut that they are.
I would think so, because I think Atlanta is probably a surprise bad team this year, right? I mean, between them and maybe the Chargers, I think most people would have expected that there would be more production from those two teams, for sure. The Falcons seem like a good team. They have a lot of talent, like you said. They have a great quarterback. On that quarterback note, just a quick side note, I am very disappointed, and I hope I'm not jumping the gun here for the show, but very disappointed to see yet again our Seattle defense let another backup quarterback look like absolute star quality against our defense. It's getting to be an old record,
Yeah, 400 something yards for Matt Schaub.
Yes, unbelievable.
It was unbelievable, but I take a look at the comment that you made just a few minutes ago, something to the effect of Atlanta figuring something out. That second half, Seahawk cornerback Akeem King, he looked like he looked lost. He looked exposed, and he covered for Trey Flowers, as Trey Flowers currently has an injury and was out for that game. But it did not look like he knew how to cover Julio Jones. Now, my question to you, is that Akeem King being insufficient, or is that just Julio Jones, one of the best we've ever seen, making another DB look foolish?
Right. I would tend to go with the latter. I mean, let's face it. It's Julio Jones, right? I mean, Akeem King is certainly no Richard Sherman, and even if it was Richard Sherman on the field, he wouldn't have followed him around the field anyway. We know that Sherman doesn't do that. But he probably would have made a mess out of anybody trying to guard him, not named Richard Sherman, or maybe let's just say Shaquille Griffin.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was a big thing, was that second half, Rob.
Hmm.
They stacked on the left side, which would be the right cornerback, which would be Akeem King.
Hmm.
They kind of stayed away from Shaq Griffin.
Shaq is having a good season. I mean, why? I mean, it's foolish, to go up against the strongest player on the secondary. I mean, if you can game plan otherwise, why not? So it makes perfect sense. Um, but yeah, Akeem King did get worked to the tune of what, 10 for 152 for Julio Jones.
Yeah.
It was rough to see it. It looked to me like what we were doing on defense was what we kind of have been doing all year, which is just making sure we stay over the top, not letting anything go deep. And the guys that we have underneath are just, our defensive back field is just not that great. At least considered, with relation to what we're used to over the recent history. And we just got worked underneath, all game long, and there was those medium range passes were just open seemingly every single time.
Yeah.
And after 4 quarters of that, you end up with probably obviously a Hall of Fame receiver, getting 10 for over 150. So it's just kind of how I'm not totally surprised that Akeem King wasn't able to hang with them. But I would have. You can't help but think that you can't help but feel that you would have liked to see some type of scheming done to kind of mitigate that a little better.
Well, a little bit later on, they started shifting Nico Thorpe into the nickel and kind of shading him towards that side. But that didn't seem to work either.
No, it didn't. Nothing seemed to really work. And then, and right when you get the opportunity, to maybe jar the offense of the opposing team, with an interception, King, lets one just go right through his hands. I mean, that was,
Oh yeah.
he had the opportunity to really, turn the game for us back in our favor. Not that ever was ever really not in our favor, but they had some momentum. That would have been a nice pick, but unfortunately, couldn't make that one.
You know who did not let a lot go through his fingertips back in the 80s and 90s? That was one Eugene Robinson. Why am I bringing up Eugene Robinson? Well, he is a record holder, was a record holder, that is, in Seahawks lore as having the most tackles ever. Yesterday, Bobby Wagner overtook Eugene Robinson for most career tackles as a Seahawk. That's amazing. Is he a Hall of Famer? Do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, okay. The fact that I can't just say an obvious, like, resounding yes, you know what I mean, is only because it's only a testament to the fact that we're the Seattle Seahawks, and I feel like we just don't get the recognition that we're supposed to get. Bobby Wagner has only just recently started getting that real national praise. So if he
Right.
ends up being one of those guys that gets snubbed, in his first year of eligibility, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, he has, I have to say, overtaken just about any other linebacker who's been considered the best in the league over the past, let's just say 5-6 years. I think Bobby Wagner has taken the plate. They talk a lot about Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly is, he's regressed a bit, and no one's really talking about him anymore. Bobby Wagner is the guy.
Yeah.
But again, it's unfortunate where we play. We just don't get a lot of that praise. It won't be until the playoffs that people start talking more about Bobby Wagner. That's kind of when we get our real national praise, is when the whole world is actually watching.
People
But
need
to
to
answer
be
your
watching.
question more directly, yes, I think Bobby Wagner could and should be a Hall of Famer at the end of his career.
Okay, I was wondering about that because he hit 790 tackles, 91 tackles, something in that region. And he went on the air last night and stated that he wanted to get to 1,000 career tackles as a Seahawk. That'd be pretty cool. For those of you out there who are interested, career tackles in the NFL, Jesse Tuggle, ex-Atlanta Falcon, Jesse Tuggle holds the most solo tackles in NFL history with 1,640. Yeah,
That's
so
amazing. That's amazing.
yeah,
1,600 tackles.
yeah, that would be 100 tackles every year for 16 years.
Wow.
By the way, some highlights for Bobby Wagner here I wrote down. 5 Pro Bowls, 4-time first team All Pro, 1-time second team All Pro. Uh, yeah, he seems to be recognized by his peers. I really would love to see it splattered all over the headlines, on ESPN and those uh, that uh, national stage is what you called it. Yeah, I want to see him hoisted up on that national stage.
Yeah, totally. You know what I mean? I want to see him. East Coast guys, they get a lot of national praise. Everything starts on the East Coast. So when you're over there, they talk a lot about you. When Luke Kuechly was, arguably the best, you couldn't walk around any town anywhere in this country without somebody know. I mean, everybody know who Luke Kuechly was. Luke Kuechly
Right.
was on commercials for, I think it was Gatorade or something. He was on some commercial. He was on this and that. I saw him on TV. I don't see Bobby Wagner on TV down here in San Diego. You know what I mean? I see Luke Kuechly, but I don't see Bobby Wagner.
He doesn't seem to go after the limelight. I think you're right. He's not a Ray Lewis sort. He's he's on a commercial up here for Beacon Plumbing, which is a local a plumber,
Right.
and that's about it.
Yeah, which is to be expected. I would expect him to have some local press or whatever, some local some local stuff going on there. But I want to see how come no one's reaching out to Bobby Wagner, unless he's turning it down. Now, is he turning down endorsements? I would have to imagine the answer would be no, right? I mean, who
That I
you know what I mean? Why would
I have
he
no
turn
idea.
down? Yeah, that would be strange. But if you're not on the East Coast, it just seems that you never thought about first, unless you're in LA. If you're in LA, it's a different story.
Yeah. All right. Let's. I got a question for you. Let's take a look at the offense, like the offense as a whole, and compare last week to this week. Did you get a sense that we flip flopped? Like last week, we overemphasized the passing game, panicked, is what I stated last week. We panicked when we got behind and tried to overthrow it. And then this week, do you feel like we got too conservative? I think there were only 5 pass attempts by Russell Wilson in that third quarter. um, I get this bad feeling that Brian Schottenheimer is flip flopping every week.
Well, you know me, I tend to defer to the coaching staff here on these types of decision making processes. Um, they go out, they're doing their diligence throughout the week, and they come out with the game plan they feel is going to be the best. Now, we ran the ball heavy on Sunday, and we ran it well. You know what I mean? The running game was great against Atlanta. So you got to do what works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so they game plan for it, and in the first half, it would seem that everything was going to plan. Now in the second half, it kind of turned around a bit, and we kind of stalled out, only putting up 3 more points for the whole rest of the football game. But I'm just really, really resistant to starting to do any type of any type of down talking of the coaching staff and play call decisions. There's a thing called execution that has to be done as well, and so I'm not going to blame every play that goes backwards or goes for no gain or an incomplete pass. I'm not going to always blame that on on Brian Schottenheimer or Pete Carroll.
Right. Let's talk about execution. I did not see anything of interest, anything of my interest, that is, from anybody in the receiving corps other than Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. David Moore, Jaron Brown, Malik Turner, these guys have not been impressing me yesterday, nor have they impressed me in the last several weeks.
Well, first off, I mean, you got to give a shout out to Tyler Lockett. I mean, the catches he made on Sunday were just amazing. I mean, first of all, Russell put those footballs in, I mean, it was exact perfect position. I mean, it was just right there, and Lockett made amazing plays. Metcalf was on the spot, Johnny on the spot, with his touchdown catches. Great, yes. To your point, David Moore, Jaron Brown, Turner, I don't even. Did Turner have one catch yesterday? If I'm not mistaken.
Don't have the stats in front of me. Um, I, maybe.
I think he had a catch early in the game. These guys are they not showing up, or are they just not getting looks? Are they not getting opportunities? I mean, I would tend to say if you got guys dropping balls or half running routes, which I haven't seen, that's one thing to complain. But if they're just not getting the looks, I mean, they've got to go out there and do whatever they go out there and do. We ran the ball a lot. So I'm assuming we didn't have, don't have the numbers in front of me either, but I don't know how many multiple, receiver formations we were in all too often yesterday. So, maybe they just weren't getting the snaps.
Malik Turner, I wrote down here that he only played 10 snaps. David Moore and Jerron Brown, they broke double digits as well, 18 and 12. Yeah, you're right. They didn't get it. Add them all up, and none of them had the amount of snaps of either DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett.
Right. See, so it kind of, with that in mind, it kind of makes sense that, Metcalf and Lockett were the ones who were the focal points because they were the ones that were on the field. If you're going run first, you're not going to have more than two receivers on the field very often. And so those numbers seem to support that.
Is that going to come back and bite us if we don't have a third receiver that's picking up? Like it used to be Will Dissly. It used to be Will Dissly that picked up the slack, but
right. Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, because look, David Moore hasn't really been big like he was. I think it was, last year he had a few big games for us. Jerron Brown has come up clutch for us a few times this season. Has he been consistently that guy? No. But again, I don't know if necessarily that's his job to be that guy. He's come up clutch where the opportunities presented themselves, which is not, I mean, you can't really ask for much more than that. I think Malik Turner is lucky just to get on the field, to be frank. As far as having a true third guy, I mean, we do have Luke Wilson out there. I think he caught 2 balls yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And we got Ed Dixon coming back.
One catch.
Was it one? Was it one?
Yep. Yeah. Jacob Hollister had 2.
Hollister had 2. Okay. And we do have Ed Dixon coming back this week. So
is that confirmed?
I believe. Well, let me rephrase that. He's coming back to practice.
Okay.
So he's practicing with the intent of playing it, but he's not confirmed go yet. But per Pete Carroll's word, he's coming back to practice with the intent on playing. So that'll be another spot for us there. And I wouldn't mind seeing us running some 2 tight end sets, out of these run formation 2 tight end set, and maybe being able to, gadget something up here real quick.
You bet. Hey, I listened to the game on the radio and have the game on TV, so I turn off the sound and listen to Steve Rabel's broadcast. And one thing that really came through, I don't know if it came through on the TV, was the quantity of Seahawk fans, or at least the noise level of the Seahawk fans was insane. They were out there shouting, and it's kind of funny how like the attendance was listed at 71,000, and I saw a half empty stadium.
Yeah, so, there definitely was not 70,000 people in that stadium, unless they were all wearing, unless their clothes looked like empty benches, because no, there was. First of all, like you said, the stadium was half empty, and a lot of them were Seahawk fans. I remember specifically when Luke Wilson caught his ball, I heard all the Lukes. So I'm like, okay, there's plenty of Seahawk fans in there. And I actually did hear the Atlanta fans trying to do their version of it when Austin Hooper caught a ball or two. They were calling out the hoop, yeah, no. There was the Seahawk fan seems to travel well. Everywhere we go, there's a good following.
You were up in LA a couple weeks ago, weren't you?
In LA?
Didn't you go to the Seahawks LA game?
No. The Seahawks. I'm going to the Seahawks Rams game in next month or in December.
Oh, sorry, I got it the other way. That's right. They were up in Seattle. You're going soon.
Yes, I'm going soon.
Keep an eye on that. I'm fascinated to see if there's quite the Seahawks contingent that goes to to the Rams game?
I'm expecting to be. I learned just recently that I'm going to be sitting on the Rams side of the stadium, so that could be putting me into a particular predicament.
What are
But
they going to throw their
we're gonna,
lattes at you?
But hey, I'm gonna go with my flag flying high and my jersey on. So, we'll hopefully I make it out of there alive. But yeah, no, I'll be there, and I'll make sure that I have plenty of good info and content coming back for us.
Did you ever see the Seahawks when they played in San Diego?
Yes, matter of fact, I was there the year after we won the Super Bowl. I think it was week 3 or week 4 of the season. They came on down to Qualcomm Stadium here in San Diego, and we proceeded to lose that game. It wasn't. It was.
What was the attendance? How many, if you threw a percentage, was there just a smattering of Seahawks fans?
Oh
Were there quite a
no!
few?
Oh no! The Seattle fan came on strong in San Diego. I mean, we more or less had a good half. I'll be generous and say a little less than half of the parking lot around the stadium for tailgating was
Wow.
Seahawks.
Wow.
I mean, Richard Sherman's family was down there, and they rolled down in their coach buses. I mean, when we overtook a section of the entire grounds that the stadium is built on. It
That's
was
awesome.
it was huge. Yeah, it was. I had friends from back home that came down for the game. Like it was magnificent. And
Nice.
it was 100 and something degrees on the field that day. It was
No,
a
not
rough
good.
day.
Not good. I went to, I want to say 2012. Nah, when was Carson our tight end?
Carlson, John Carlson.
John Carlson.
Was it John Carlson? Yeah. That would have been
That might have been 12.
Was it 12? It might have been 12, 11, 12, something like that. I think because it was still Matt Hasselbeck. So
Yeah. So this was pre Super Bowl win, and I went to the Phoenix Stadium, saw, I would say 33%. I'd say a good third were Seahawks fans in the stands.
Right.
Yeah, I think Seahawks fans travel well.
Absolutely. I mean, from New York, I mean Pittsburgh. I mean, you see them when they show them on the screen. I mean, you see those that blue and green and white out there. I mean, they are there flying those flags and so on and so forth. Yeah, we are everywhere.
Hey, so I wanna loop it back. I want to loop it back here. Talk about the trade deadline. Talk about some of the personnel on this team. I want to get your reactions. I'm just going to bring up some names here. Go through these pretty quick. I'm going to start with tight end. Let me start with tight end for you. Well, what do you think about trading for somebody like Austin Hooper, or maybe Hayden Hurst, or coming up this weekend? We're going to play Tampa Bay. OJ Howard. What would you think about trading for a tight end?
The tight end position, I don't know is as valuable to us as one might think. Now that's given consideration for how great Will Dissly has been for the first half of the last 2 years. Will Dissly has been a great fixture in our offense. I kind of have a feeling it's kind of a under the radar thing more than anything. Not to take anything away from the guy. But I mean, you look at the Jimmy Graham experiment. It wasn't until the latter part of his time in Seattle that he really became a focal point, where he's even able to be used in any real significant fashion, in my opinion. I don't know that the tight end position is really all that valuable to us, except for a when nothing else is, when you got nothing else going on type of thing. And that's kind of how we use it now. Or when it's left as an afterthought, it works. But I mean, I don't know if we can call that a focal point for our offense. So I don't know if it's necessary to really make any real moves for the position.
Right. And I apologize for that audio. I was looking up my questions again because I accidentally closed the window. But you're okay. Are you okay with Dixon? You stated that a little bit earlier in the program here. So it sounds to me, for you, it's not a big deal. Now let me get over to the wide receiver position that I was just talking about. And what do you think about trading? Obviously, we're not going to get AJ Green from the Bengals. I know that's on everybody's mind, but what about just more depth at the receiver position?
Well, again, and maybe I'm just too complacent, Abe. But I look at what we've done with what we've had over the last so many years, right? I look at guys like Doug Baldwin, who led the league in touchdown catches a couple years ago. I look at Russell Wilson a couple years ago, who led the league in touchdown passes with the receiving core not too different than what we have now. Minus obviously Doug Baldwin, but Tyler Lockett has kind of supplanted him in the big plays that he used to make. We've always had what Chris Carter called pedestrian receivers in this era of Seahawk football, and we are winning with it. As a run-first team, is it really necessary to go out and get that player? I just don't know that it is, because we kind of did that with Jimmy Graham. Again, I talk about Jimmy Graham a lot because I'm not very happy with that whole situation.
Right.
But I just don't know that putting that kind of player on our team does it really stand to help us? Because that's just not us.
Jimmy Graham,
and who would you trade
Percy
for
Harvin.
him also?
Yeah. I was going to mention too, like Percy Harvin, that didn't really ever work out.
Percy Harvin, exactly.
Sidney Rice was okay, but was he worth the amount of money that we dumped into him? Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. So, all right, I'm going to bring up a different position then, because obviously tight end and wide receiver aren't going to change your mind. What do you think about a trade for a center? Because Justin Britt just got injured.
That makes sense. Because Britt going down, I think it was an ACL or MCL or something like that. He's done for the season probably.
ACL.
Yeah, ACL. There you go. That's tough. But again, the question I raise is, who do we trade, right? Who do we trade outside of, I don't know, maybe Rashad Penny, I wouldn't mind seeing Rashad Penny being traded away for something that we need. So maybe I've answered my own question.
You've answered the next question I was going to do.
See, well, there you go. Jumping the gun. So yes, I could see us trading for a center and then moving on to the next question.
Oh yeah, no. Let me stay on this one for a second because I don't know if I'm sold on Joey Hunt, and we all know that Ethan Posick's injured. I don't even think there's an extra center on the roster, so it might actually be a necessity. And I was going to ask about Rashad Penny, but you've answered that. Now let me throw in Tedrick Thompson. What do you think about trading him away?
I don't know why everybody hates Tedrick Thompson. I'm not that I'm so high on him, but I feel like Tedrick Thompson will do good things for us. The defense as a whole hasn't played well, the secondary in specific. So it's like every ball that gets delivered to the middle of the field or mid-range pass against our defense is being caught, and so no one's playing all that great with the exception of Shaq. So I don't know that Tedrick Thompson really is so inept at the position that he is necessarily the one to trade away, and also with that, is he really trade bait? I mean, what are we gonna get for a Tedrick Thompson?
Well, that's my big argument with a lot of people that are up here in Seattle, and my friends and Seahawks fans, obviously, is if you think that Tedrick Thompson is no good and you want to trade him, what exactly do you think you're going to get for him? Because if you think he's no good, do you think there's some sucker out there of the 31 other GMs in NFL that say, oh, well, I think he's great.
Right.
You might get like a 7th rounder for him. Is that as worthwhile as keeping him? That's kind of my thought. Quandre Diggs was traded for last week, and he's on the team. But there's a reason why Detroit traded him away. He has He has mounting injuries. In fact, he didn't play yesterday because of they wanted to keep that hamstring fresh in a game that we should win without him, and we did.
Right.
So, yeah, I think Tedrick Thompson might be more valuable on the bench than as trade bait.
I have to agree with that. I have to agree with that because again, whether it's Tedrick Thompson in there or any whether it's geez, help me out.
Blair, Delano Hill.
Thank you, Marquise Blair. Whether there's Marquise Blair or Tedrick Thompson out there, it's I don't see a big drop off or a big gain either way. Marquise Blair has played well recently, but I mean Tedrick Thompson hasn't stunk up the stadium every game he's been in there, but the fact that he is on the bench, off the bench, on the bench, off the bench is that alone is going to be should tell you that you're not going to get much for him on the trade market.
Yeah. By the way, Quandre Diggs trivia. Do you know who his older brother is?
Oh, I do know this. Who is it?
From San Diego Chargers.
Okay, maybe I'm off. Who is it?
Defensive back Quentin Jammer.
Is it Jammer? Okay.
Yeah.
I heard that piece of trivia fact just within the last couple of days, and I thought I was gonna save it in the memory, and I obviously I failed. But I did hear he had a previous player as a family in the NFL.
My friend asked me my friend asked me do you know who his brother is? And I'm like, no. My friend said Quentin Jammer, and my first thought was not that they have different last names. It was, I thought I could have sworn Quentin Jammer played in the 80s.
Oh,
how much older of an older brother is this guy? Because
right.
Quentin Jammer's not in the league anymore, is he?
No, Jammer's done. As far as I know, I don't think he's on anybody's team right now. He had a couple good seasons down here in San Diego. He was kind of he came on the coattails of what's the guy the corner who had a couple good years down here, Antonio Cromartie.
Oh yeah,
it was right. Him and Quentin Jammer were the two guys at corner in San Diego, and they were considered to be one of the best duos for a season or so. But Jammer's limelight was short lived.
Yeah, that must have been the first part of the 2000s, right?
I think it was in the first 10 years of the 2000s. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it had to be right between 2006 and 2011, something like that. Maybe. Or I could be completely off.
But he's definitely been out in the league for a while, and that's just what baffled me is that I could have sworn that he played in a different era, and I think he did. All right, so let's take a look at a couple minutes left we have here. Let's take a look at our opponent for next week, Bruce Arians and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What can we expect?
Well, actually, before we go on, let me just go ahead and say that we are both a little bit off because Jammer actually is still playing.
Is he still playing? Okay.
Yes, he's on the Broncos bench right now.
Okay.
Let's see. Wait, maybe he's not. You can't trust Wikipedia. I think it says former, but then it says current team Denver Broncos. Maybe he retired with the Broncos. Anyway, moving on. Yes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That's more Quentin Jammer talk I've had in my than in the rest of my entire life.
Right.
But anyway, go on. Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What I expect in this Tampa Bay game is probably, I hate to say it, but more of the same from the Seattle Seahawks. You're playing against a team that when you look at it on paper, when you look at it with just common sense, you expect to go in against this team and win this game, right? You don't
right?
Right. Well, I don't know. See, that's the thing, because we should have smoked the Falcons. But when we did for 30 minutes, and then for the other 30 minutes we spent it wondering, is this really going to happen? Are they really going to come back in this game? um but yeah, I want to see us go in. We're at home. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to go ahead and take a stronghold of this game. uh Jameis Winston is inconsistent at best. I mean, in this venue, we should be able to go ahead and just play our Seahawk football and hold this game outright. However, uh, Jameis Winston and that Tampa Bay offense went toe to toe with the Rams not so many weeks ago,
Yep.
to the tune of 50 some odd points. They put about 50 burger against the Rams,
Yep.
and that was unbelievable. So at the very least, they show that they have the ability to put points up on the board. We have a defense that is suspect. We all know that. So I can see this game being one of those games where it might go back and forth against Tampa Bay.
I think
I
you
do
might be
believe that
right.
we would hold the upper hand.
I think you might be right. They, like you said, they scored 50 and beat the Rams. My notes here, I wrote down they're fifth in the NFL in scoring with 28 points per game. Seahawks are up there at 9, and as typical Bruce Arians football, these guys like to pass the ball all over the field, and are capable of scoring, but they are not capable of stopping anybody. They are 30th in points allowed per game with 30 points per game. They are 31st in pass defense. So I wonder if do you think the Seahawks are going to get a little pass happy? I start wondering if they can't pass defend, maybe the Seahawks are going to try to exploit that.
I don't think so. And if we do, it would only be because the running game doesn't allow us. We're not afforded to do what we want to do in the running game, and we might start throwing the football. I believe that we go out there and we do the same thing that we always do and run the football. If the running game um, is working, then I would expect to see some play action, some of that rollout, misdirection, pass, that stuff that we do, like Tyler Lockett. Russell Wilson loves to run that play action, roll right and throw back left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it works great for us. So I think if we get the running game going, we get those defensive backs and those linebackers looking in the backfield. I do think that you see Russell with one of his signature passing days where he throws for a couple of touchdowns for decent yardage on very few attempts, and at a good percentage. I could see that happening, assuming we can get Chris Carson and Rashad Penny going.
Right on. So with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, the two receivers for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're having career years each. They scored a lot of touchdowns, the Buccaneers do, but because they're pass happy, they're that Bruce Arians type, aerial attack. They throw a lot of interceptions. Winston has 12 interceptions on the year. I think they're going to throw the kitchen sink at us, and I really think I agree with you that this is going to be an up and down the field track meet, basically.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. Here again, what the Seattle Seahawks defense has done all season long. Here we are, halfway through the season, and what have we done consistently? If not let subpar quarterbacks look great. So I would not be surprised if Jameis Winston goes out there and throws for 350 plus. And he may or may not get a bunch of touchdowns because we are kind of bend but don't break. But there's a lot of yards that come in between those 20s. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Winston go out there and look like he's having a great day, but ultimately be all for naught because I do see the Seahawks winning this game by 2 scores.
Oh, nice. I'd like to see that. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody out there for listening to us here on YouTube. And I would like everybody to check out Robert English on his podcast on Podbean. What's that podcast again?
That is shortyardage.podbean.com. Absolutely.
Excellent. And also check out all our great articles at seattlesportsunion.com, as well. Check us out on Twitter at Seattle Sports U, and of course Facebook. Look for Seattle Sports Union. All right, everybody, have a great night, and go Seahawks, right?
Go Hawks.
Yeah. Have a great day.